Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Ryan Rizzuti takeover of Benny TV. I will be your host. Um, Unlike most of my dad's shows, and even when I do the shows, I don't have any clips or any photos tonight. Today, I'm just going to really do kind of more of like a stream of consciousness, kind of a rant, multiple rants. I'm just going to kind of talk about stuff, do almost like a one-man show podcast format. Um, Please share, if anyone happens to be watching this live, comment anything you want to hear me talk about. But that's kind of what I'm going to be doing today. Um, my dad's okay today. I didn't lock him in a car or anything. He's busy. My aunt's cousin's former roommate's brother is getting married, and as is Italian law, one member of the family must be present, and my dad drew the short stick, so that's where he is today. He's at this wedding. It seems like a really fun wedding. It wasn't just like a meat or a fish. It was a meat, fish, or other. And I didn't tell him I chose other, so be interesting to see what he had for dinner. Yeah, no, it's a very nice wedding that he's going to. But that's not what we're here to talking about. I have a bunch of things I'd like to talk about today. I'll just start off with earlier today I was watching The Martian. It came out about 3 years ago, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Matt Damon as the titular Martian. And really just like, that was my favorite movie of 2015. I'm a really big fan of that movie. If you haven't seen The Martian, I highly recommend it. And just some of the things that they're able to do in that movie, make a movie about, essentially the film is Castaway in space. It's Castaway on Mars. It's a team on Mars in the not so distant future, like a normal NASA team on Mars, and something goes wrong and Matt Damon's accidentally left for dead. Complete accident just happens. And instead of being where Castaway is kind of a fun but sad, somber affair, The Martian's a lot more uplifting because it's all about how you as the person take it. He's very more optimistic, and any movie where they're able to grow potatoes in space using his own poop is pretty fascinating to me. And I think that most people should be a big fan of that. Uh, yeah, no, I really enjoy that movie. If you haven't seen it, it has a great cast: Jeff Daniels, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Michael Pena. You've definitely seen at least one of them in a movie before. And if you haven't seen it, it's a fun, enjoyable film, and I highly recommend it. Another movie I saw recently, I didn't see any movies that came out this weekend because I'm not the proper audience for Crazy Rich Asians. And I heard Mile 22 is like the Room of action movies. From what I've heard about that, it has the star of The Raid, which is one of the best action films of the past 10 years, and Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg, who's a director who's like, he's like if you can't afford Michael Bay, then you get Pete Berg. And I like Peter Berg. He's made some better films. He made The Rundown with The Rock and Seann William Scott. Recently he's done 3 films in a row. Well, yeah, 3 films in a row with, 4 films in a row actually with Mark Wahlberg. Lone Survivor, which is a very good film. Deepwater Horizon, which is a very good film. Patriots Day, which is also a very good film. And then Mile 22, which is like all the crap that they didn't use in those movies. And they had like an excess budget. And like maybe they had like a tax thing. Like, there's like, oh, we get this tax credit, but we can only use it by this date. Oh, we don't have a script. Oh, just sign Ronda Rousey and we'll do some explosions. And that's essentially what I hear Mile 22 is. I haven't seen it myself, so this is just my opinion that's probably wrong, but, that's what I've heard. But one film I did see that I didn't talk about last week, if you didn't see my dad's show last week, it was me, my father, Ben Rizzuti, same name, surprising, and Nigel Fullerton, who's a really great stand-up comedian. We were on and we were talking Black Klansman. Me and my dad both saw it. And that's a great film. Black Klansman is one of my favorite films of the year. I highly recommend it. But one of the other films I saw last week that I didn't talk about was I saw The Meg. which, if you don't know what The Meg is, it's a film where Jason Statham fights a 90-foot shark. And when I say fights a 90-foot shark, I mean he swims into the water to fight him in combat. Now, if that sounds like something you might be interested in, go see it. If not, don't go see it. That's the easiest way I could describe it. I really enjoyed it. It's not the best movie of the year. If I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, which isn't the best way to rate something, but if I had to, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't great, but I had a fun time watching it. The more ridiculous it got, the more I enjoyed it. Some of the acting wasn't great. Some of it did feel like a sci-fi shark movie. There's a lot of them. I also watched Santa Jaws recently, which is exactly what it sounds. It's Santa Claus, but he's a shark and he eats people. It's really bad, but it's a lot of fun to watch. But it has that sort of feel, but it has a bigger budget and Jason Statham knows what kind of movie he's in. One of the things about the film is it's directed by Jon Turteltaub, who is a name you probably have no idea. You're like, what's a Turteltaub? But Jon Turteltaub directed National Treasure, National Treasure 2, Sorcerer's Apprentice. We don't really talk about that. So you'd think Nicolas Cage would be in this movie, but he's not. But originally it was going to be directed by Eli Roth, and Eli Roth dropped out for multiple reasons. Eli Roth most famously stars in Inglourious Basterds as the Bear Jew. He is one of the titular bastards where he kills Nazis with a baseball bat. That's a lot of fun. He's also a director of a lot of horror films, Hostel. He did Death Wish remake with Bruce Willis that came out this year. He has a kind of like gothic kids horror movie coming out this year coming out next month actually, called The House with a Clock in Its Walls with Jack Black, a movie which, when I was hanging out with one of my friends, I described the entire film based on the trailer, and he didn't see the trailer. And I told him, like, this is a real movie. You don't believe me. You think I'm just making this up. Because, like, a movie with Jack Black called A House with a Clock in Its Walls, and it's got, like, a weird gothic feel with Cate Blanchett, and they're wizards or warlocks, and, you know. And then my friend's like, yeah, very funny, ha, ha, ha. And we were going to see a movie, and during the trailers, that trailer played. And as it ended, he looked at me and went, "You son of a bitch. You didn't make that up. That was real." And I said, "Yeah, I'm not that creative." Yeah, like I said, Eli Roth is a director that I feel like he has a bigger name than the prestige of the films behind him, but it would have been very intriguing to see him do a big budget shark film. And that was something I was really interested in, but he left over creative differences, which they say for a lot of things, which could really mean anything. But the rumor is that he left because he wanted to be the star of the film, and the studio didn't see him as a star of a movie when his biggest role is in Inglourious Basterds. And I agree with that. I think he would have been good with Jason Statham as the lead. I don't think he would have been good with him as the lead. But it would have been interesting. The Meg is a PG-13 movie, so there is some blood, but not a lot of blood. And not super gory, which will turn some people off because it's a shark movie, but that didn't really hurt it too much for me, because you do still see the shark eat people, but it'd be more the shark swallowing someone than like chewing it up, which I is fine. You know, the shark's still eating somebody. You know, what are you upset about? I liked it. There's some very bad acting in certain spots, but like I said, if it's something that if you saw the trailers and you went, that seems like something I might have fun watching, you'll probably enjoy it. If it didn't seem like any fun to you, you don't really need to go spend your money on it. I was talking about creative differences a second ago. Big breaking news today was that Danny Boyle, the director of Slumdog Millionaire, Trainspotting, and Steve Jobs, has dropped out of the newest James Bond film over creative differences. He was going to be taking the mantle from Sam Mendes, who did the past 2 Bond films. And this one is the 25th Bond film. The tentative title is Bond 25. And it's supposed to be the last film that Daniel Craig's doing, and apparently they're giving him a lot of money to make this last movie. And he's leaving over creative differences. He was writing the script, too, so there's very weird talk. It was supposed to start shooting in November, so that is very interesting that he dropped out, you know, at the end of August when they were supposed to be shooting in 3 months' time. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do there. James Bond is a franchise that, as along with most people, I'm a very big fan of. I love spy movies. I love action movies. The James Bond franchise is a very fascinating franchise, the way it's changed over the past, 1,000 years. But I'm interested to see what happens. I'm kind of disappointed because, like the Eli Roth thing, I would have liked to see what Danny Boyle did because I really like Danny Boyle as a filmmaker. He's done some really interesting things. Steve Jobs is another one of my favorite films of 2015. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. It's written by Aaron Sorkin, who wrote Social Network and The West Wing, A Few Good Men, The Newsroom, which was a underappreciated show on HBO, which you can catch on HBO Go. But it's a film chronicling Steve Jobs' life, done in a very interesting format, which can either make or break the film for you because it's not exactly. It's what happens are like the events are true, but the way it happens in the film is not true in any way because the film takes place over, I believe, 3 big press conferences in his life, and it's all these people confronting him during these press conferences, and each person represents a different aspect of Steve Jobs' life. And from what I've been told and from what Aaron Sorkin has said as the writer, all the things that he says or the characters do are things that happen, but it didn't happen like that. These people didn't come up to him and have these events with him right before these important press conferences. But for a film and for a thematic storytelling and for the structure, it's brilliant. And it's so brilliant that it should be taught in screenwriting classes of how to structure a film with 3 acts because it's literally built in. And one of the things that Danny Boyle does, which I think really shows of how great of a filmmaker he is, all 3 press conferences are shot in different formats. I believe one is shot on 16 millimeter film, the second is shot on 35 millimeter, and the last one is shot digitally. So it's really fascinating to look at from a filmmaking perspective because that really separates the three acts and really shows you the differences of the 3 acts. So if you're looking at it from a filmmaking perspective or you're interested in learning more about filmmaking, I highly recommend using that movie as a tool to look at the 3-act film structure. Again, guys, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, like the Strong Island Radio and Television Facebook page. I'm going to talk more about more random things that are on my mind. Let's see what else. So there's a rumor. There's a lot of talk that there's actually not a lot of truth to this rumor, but it's a very interesting rumor, and I'm a big comic book fan, as people who've watched this show previously probably know. So there's a rumor that Tom Cruise is in final negotiations to be in the Green Lantern film. For those that aren't familiar with the comics, Green Lantern was a movie starring Ryan Reynolds in 2011, which is a terrible, terrible film, and Ryan Reynolds will tell you that himself if you see Deadpool or Deadpool 2 in any way. Sorry, I'm having non-denominational brand coffee. And so Green Lantern, I'm a very big fan of the Green Lantern comic books. So is my dad. They're almost space cops. Not almost, they are space cops, and it's a very interesting storyline. And what they were supposed to be doing is the Green Lantern Corps, so it wouldn't be about one specific person. It might be about an ensemble, a whole group, doing one specific thing or another. And apparently Tom Cruise would be playing the Hal Jordan character, which would be the leader of sorts. He would be a more experienced, more of a veteran. And apparently in this script, he's supposed to die at the end of the movie, and Tom Cruise doesn't want that. He's like, no, I got to be in multiple movies if I'm going to be in it. But there's no way of us knowing if any of this is true. I think Tom Cruise could be very interesting in sort of an older mentor role in one of these sorts of action movies. I loved Mission Impossible Fallout, and I really think he's great when it comes to action films. I didn't get a chance to review Mission Impossible Fallout with my dad. He had a call-in, I believe it was Donald Sutherland called, and reviewed the film with my dad. And I know they both enjoyed it. I was a huge fan of Mission Impossible Fallout. If you haven't seen Mission Impossible Fallout, I would say see that over most of the movies in theaters right now. I'd say see that, see Black Klansman, Ant-Man and the Wasp if you haven't seen it, then go see The Meg. But Mission Impossible Fallout shows how committed Tom Cruise is as an actor. And granted, some of his films are very terrible. The Mummy is a god-awful film. If you like watching films that like literally suck the soul out of your life, watch Tom Cruise's The Mummy. If you want to save time, if you don't want to waste 2 hours, don't watch Tom Cruise's The Mummy. You listen to me when I tell you this. I'm sorry. Don't watch Tom Cruise's The Mummy. I show it to my friends to mess with them, and they get mad at me. But I don't even show the whole film, because if I did that, a part of you dies. Like, you know, like the ancient belief that, like, taking a photo, you lose a part of your soul? It's like that, but with Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Spoilers. At the end of the film, I'm going to spoil the Mummy for you. At the end of the movie, Tom Cruise becomes the Mummy, and he's going to be like Mummy superhero. Like, he was like, I'm not going to be Green Lantern, I'm going to be Mummy Lantern. Like, no, nobody wanted that. That's why that movie fucking was terrible and it bombed. And nobody saw it except me. And halfway through the film, I asked the projectionist to put on Pirates of the Caribbean, which I also walked out of. The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is very terrible now. I used to be a very large fan of that franchise. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Tom Cruise, Green Lantern. I think it could be very interesting. It depends who the cast around him would be, and who knows if this rumor is actually true. I do know that he was originally going to be Iron Man before Robert Downey Jr. was cast. But the rumor with that is he wanted it so you could see his face in the mask at all times. Like, it would be like a clear Iron Man mask. And throughout the entire film, you'd be able to see his face, which would have looked horrendous, and nobody would have wanted that, and we probably wouldn't have any Avengers films. It's like kind of like The Mummy. The Mummy was supposed to start this, Mummy franchise, or Universal Monster franchise, where Johnny Depp was going to be Invisible Man, Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men, and Skyfall, the terrible Pirates of the Caribbean movie I talked about a minute ago. He was supposed to be Frankenstein, and Angelina Jolie was going to be Bride of Frankenstein, and The Rock was going to be the Wolfman, and this was going to be this huge franchise, and they already had Tom Cruise as what everybody thought was going to be like the hunter character, like the monster hunter, or like helps the monsters. Turns out he's just going to be the fucking Mummy, because there's no original ideas in Hollywood. And Russell Crowe was like this fat Russell Crowe who, like, if he stubs his toe, his face gets darker, and that's supposed to be he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but he's just like overweight Russell Crowe that, like, his best days are behind him. And, like, I appreciate his work, and, like, The Nice Guys was a great movie, but, like, Russell Crowe, what are you doing? Like, I understand you. Like, I'm Russell, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, Russell. We're having a conversation. Like, I'm speaking to you, Russell. Like, put the phone down for a second, Russell. Listen, I know you own a rugby team now in New Zealand. I'm sure they got many wins or nils, or I don't know. I don't know how rugby works, okay? I don't even know if you win in rugby. I don't know how that works. I don't know how you score a point. Maybe there's goals. Maybe, like, I don't know how rugby works. I've seen that episode of Friends. That's it. That's all I know. That's all I know. I almost knocked over. See what you did, Russell? All right, Russell, listen to me. I'm a big fan. You got to do something, Russell. Russell, listen to me. You gotta do something. You can't keep doing this. What are you doing? You're like, I'm Dr. Jekyll. Oh, I stubbed my toe. Now I'm Hyde. It's terrible. It's terrible. If you saw The Mummy, you know what I'm talking about, but then also part of your soul would be missing. So don't watch The Mummy, is what I'm saying here. Like, moral of the story, watch the Brendan Fraser Mummy. If you're gonna watch a Mummy, that's not the Boris Karloff one from 1914. That's not accurate. But if you're going to not watch the Boris Karloff one, watch the Brendan Fraser one. That's a fun movie. Kind of feels like Indiana Jones with the Mummy. I saw that when I was in theaters when I was 5. And then when I was 7, my parents wouldn't let me go see the Planet of the Apes remake because apparently there was going to be nudity and be too violent. But I already saw the Mummy in theaters when I was 5. So tell me the fucking logic in that, Mom and Dad. Besides, I'm still annoyed. And it doesn't matter that the Planet of the Apes remake with Mark Wahlberg and Tim Burton was bad. Like, who cares that that was a terrible film? It's the principle. It's the principle of the matter. I should have been able to see that film in the cinema. I had a cousin who was younger than me who never went to the movies. And he got to go. He got to see it. I didn't get to see it. Probably saw a Barney movie that week. I don't know. Still went to the movies a lot. I don't know. I got to see Evolution in theaters. That was a good movie. You ever see Evolution? David Duchovny? You should see that. David Duchovny, Ivan Reitman. Feels like Ghostbusters, but with aliens. Sean William Scott, Julianne Moore. A little more lowbrow. I enjoy that film. That's a fun film. I say you should go see that. But I didn't get to see the Planet of the Apes in theaters. I saw Rise, but I was already like 17, so I went by myself. And then I went with my parents, and I was like, "You can't tell me what to do anymore." And then they yelled at me, and yeah. But yeah, don't see The Mummy with Tom Cruise. Okay, even if you're Russell Crowe. There's a couple of Russell Crowe movies that you shouldn't see. That's all I'm saying. My friend Zach, who I haven't seen, Zach is a very nice man. He keeps commenting. Yes, Zach, I understand you have my copy of Tusk. So Tusk is a film by Kevin Smith about a man who becomes a walrus. I own it on Blu-ray. But I haven't seen that copy in 3 years because I lent it to my friend Zach when we were in college, and he still has it. And I haven't seen him. And he keeps saying he's going to give it back. Yet where is it? He's touching it inappropriately now. I don't know what he's doing with my copy of Tusk. I want it back. It's on Netflix now, so I can watch it. But it's the principle. Like how I couldn't see Planet of the Apes when I was a kid. It's the principle. It's the principle of the matter. That's all I'm saying. Let's go next subject. Next subject. Let's talk about something else. Why did I write down Slumdog Millionaire? Oh yeah, because Danny Boyle, director of Bond 25, not anymore. So I watched Tag this week because I found it at a Redbox. I watched Tag, which came out 2 months ago, starring Jeremy Renner, Ed Helms from Hangover, Hannibal Buress, John Hamm. He sells many hams. No, I'm kidding. He's from Mad Men. And it's a film and Jake Johnson from New Girl. It's a film about a group of friends who have been playing a game of tag for 30 years since they were 9 years old. And the concept is they all play tag during the month of May. They play a competitive game of tag where they'll dress up in disguises and they'll tag their friend and mess with them. They'll go as far as getting a job at their company to dress up as a disguise just to tag them. Gotta love coffee. I'm not gonna say the name of because they don't pay me money. And it was a fun movie. Isla Fisher's in it. There's an actress, I believe her name's Annabelle Wallace. I believe she was in Annabelle. She was also in that terrible Mummy movie you shouldn't see with Tom Cruise. Connections, like Full Circle. It's like a circle. It's like a circle. So Tag is what I'm talking about. So Tag, like I said, it's a film where they play competitive tag, and Jeremy Renner plays a character named Jerry who's never been tagged for 30 years. And it's supposed to be almost like he's Hawkeye, because he's the actor who plays Hawkeye. It's like he's Hawkeye, and he plays tag with his friends in the month of May. And the Avengers don't know about this. And he plays tag. And that's essentially the plot of the film. That's essentially what it is. And it has some really good funny moments, some good jokes, some good parody moments. There's one part of the film that I don't want to talk about because it's kind of a very controversial topic that happens at the end of the second act that they use as the plot device for laughs. That's not something that's a joking matter. And they go all in, they go all for it. And there are some jokes that are really distasteful, but you're going to do the joke, you might as well just go all in. So there are parts that I laughed at, parts that you really shouldn't laugh at. And that kind of hurt the film for me. It's not something I'm going to talk about, but I would recommend seeing the film, and maybe you'll have the same opinion as me, maybe you won't, but it is a fun film to watch. Most of it is very enjoyable, but there's this one aspect that's really you could have done something else that would have been probably funnier, and it would have been more enjoyable. But they build the world really well. My friend Zach saying I'll get the copy of Tusk at his wedding on his wedding day. When are you getting married? When you don't even, you're not engaged. You and Tori didn't get engaged. You didn't tell me. Maybe you did. I don't know. You don't talk to me that much. I don't think you did. But yeah, Tag. You should watch Tag. That's all I'm gonna say about Tag. Um, yeah, Tag is a good movie. You play tag. That's what they do. Uh, let's see what else I got. The first trailer for the second season of American Vandal came out today. American Vandal is a show that I was a really big fan of from last year, which was a parody of true crime shows like Making a Murderer and like The First 24 and shows of that aspect, which was taking place all in a high school and being about a kid who got expelled for spray painting dicks on I believe 27 cars, and it's all who drew the dicks. Like if you saw anything, it was like, oh, that's that show. Because when I talk about the show, people go, oh, that's that show about the dicks. That's exactly how people describe it. They go, oh, the show about the dicks, right? And it has Jimmy Tatro, who is very popular on YouTube, and he's been in several movies and such now. He was in 22 Jump Street. He's in a couple others I can't think of. But he's very funny in the show. It was the first thing where I was really like a big fan of him. I thought he did a really great job. The entire cast I thought was very funny. The writing was really spot on with the humor. They did a really good job of taking lowbrow humor and making it very funny. And the second season trailer came out today, and they upped the bar and also lowered the bar at the same time, because they had to do like, how can you up the game of the drawing of the dicks, but then you also have to make a little bit more lowbrow humor. So what they did is that the two guys who, in the story of the show, are the filmmakers making this documentary, they became like viral sensations. So they have to make another season, but they're trying to figure out what they're going to tackle next. And it's a food. The best way I can describe it, a food poisoner. Causing what they describe in the trailer as a brownout, where you can just figure that out for yourself, or just watch the trailer for American Vandal season 2. It seems like much more lowbrow humor, but the writing in the first season was so good that I really have a lot of faith that they'll do a very good job with the humor. I wasn't dying in the trailer. I wasn't like, it didn't have me like cracking up, being like, I have to see this. I'm gonna watch it. It comes out middle of September, I believe, so very soon. I am gonna watch it definitely when it comes out, but I'm excited to see what happens. I feel like it could go either way. It could either be really great, or it could just be like you just dropped the ball and the writing wasn't as strong as the first season. We'll see what happens. Honestly, who knows? It could be anything, you know. Zach brought up Hollyweed. Yeah, I'll talk about Hollyweed. So Hollyweed is a show written and directed and starring Kevin Smith that I believe is on, is it Pivot or Rivet TV? It's one of those. I'm gonna look it up. But it's on this new website that's essentially like Kickstarter for pilots. Kickstarter for pilots that were already made. And it was a pilot that he was trying to make like 5 or 6 years ago. That's like Clerks in a weed store in California. With him and Donnell Rollins, who's from Chappelle's Show. He's a very funny stand-up comedian, really funny. And you can watch the pilot. I'm just going to get the name. I think it's Rivet. Yeah, it's Rivet TV. So you go to Rivet TV and Hollyweed's up, and you can watch the entire pilot, and then you bid sort of on the show. You don't bid on the show, but you put how much money you would buy the episodes for the show for. And the more money you're willing to spend, like $2.99 episode, $3.99, $4.99, the less people it'll take to get the show greenlit. That's a really interesting concept for a website for people who have pilots that maybe they're a name director, maybe they're not, but they have pilots that are like, hey, this is a really cool concept, but I can't get it greenlit, so let's try this out. And it's almost like a second step after Kickstarter sort of thing. So it's a very interesting thing. So this is like the pilot of the pilots. This is the test run, is Hollyweed. And I found Hollyweed really funny. Like I said, Rivet TV, you can find the pilot. I really liked it. It's Clerks in a weed store. So if you don't like Clerks, you're probably not going to like it. But if you like Clerks and you like weed, you'll probably find it pretty entertaining. I really enjoyed it. It had some good jokes. There was some things that they kind of meander on, but it's a pilot. With most pilots, they're not the strongest they can be. It's not till episodes 2 and 3 that the show really finds its foundation. There are some shows with amazing pilots, but there's shows with amazing pilots that are crap shows. That the pilot was super strong, and then the show couldn't deliver on the strength of that pilot. And then there's shows where the pilot's so-so, or maybe bad, and it becomes a great show, and it builds over time. The pilot for Friends isn't the best pilot in the world, but the show is, one of the most popular shows. The pilot for Seinfeld is funny, but there's so many episodes of Seinfeld that are funnier. There's tons of shows like that. Entourage, the pilot's not that great compared to the rest of the show. Sons of Anarchy. I feel like Lost is kind of a show where the pilot was super strong, and this differs because there's a lot of people who are really strong Lost fans. I'm not trying to defend you really strong Lost fans, but Lost is a show where I feel like the pilot was super strong, and it couldn't really build up enough off that pilot. It did for an extent, for some time, for a season or two, but when the fog's going after you. There's a Lost video game. I don't know if you've ever played the Lost video game, but I kept getting eaten by the fog, and then I returned it to Blockbuster. That was my extent with the Lost video game. You could probably find it for $1.99 at your nearest GameStop before they go out of business. Because GameStop's not doing well. Not doing well at all. But we're not here to talk about why GameStop's failing. Any kid under 25 can tell you that, because who wants to go to a video place and trade in your games and go, oh, this game costs you $60, I'll give you $8.99 for it. Or you go, oh, I have this game, I didn't even open it. And they go, oh, we don't take games that you haven't opened. You might have stolen it. You can't. And I'm like, okay, I'll just open it and give it to you. No, we can't do that. I can't take this game. Fuck you, GameStop. And you can tell GameStop I said it. Ballers is back. The Rock Show on HBO, with a lot of funny people. Denzel's son, the funny white guy. I sound like my mom. It's like, that guy? He's that funny guy. He's on that show. Rob Corddry and The Rock are on Ballers, and it's essentially Entourage in the world of sports. And I'm a really big fan of Entourage, and I'm a big fan of sports, so I should like Ballers more than I do, because Ballers is a show I almost watch ironically. Maybe not ironically, but I watch it reluctantly. I watch it reluctantly. That's the best. I watch Ballers reluctantly. I don't want to watch Ballers anymore, but I've committed. I'm in season 4 now. I want to see what happens with The Rock, and I feel like The Rock only does Ballers because it gives him the outlet to do the things they won't let him do in movies, because he's always a very similar character in movies, and he's very different in Ballers. There's an episode of him just whacking it to start off the episode. There's a whole thing about him needing a hip replacement and being addicted to drugs. There's a whole season-long arc with that. So I feel like that's why The Rock does the show, and of course it's going to be a successful show because it's The Rock on HBO. And I do think that's one of the reasons why The Rock's movies aren't as big as they have been recently, because you just see so much of The Rock. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. I can't take a piss in a urinal without seeing The Rock's face. He's everywhere. And I love The Rock. I'm a big wrestling fan. I love The Rock's movies. But Jumanji was really great. I really liked Rampage. I enjoyed Skyscraper. But The Rock, he can't keep spreading out because it's too much. When you're spread out too much, people see you too much, and they're seeing you on TV for free, they're not going to want to go out to see you. That's why Denzel's so successful, because Denzel only does 1 film a year, maybe 2, but it'll be really spread out. Or, he does it strategically. He's done movies, Denzel, where they've been kind of close together, but they're usually completely different. He did, I think the Magnificent Seven remake and Fences were a few months apart, 3 or 4 months. But his character in Fences and the film Fences is completely different from the Magnificent Seven remake, so that is completely fine. So like nobody really cares if Denzel's in those two movies because you're seeing two completely different sides of Denzel. The Rock you're seeing be The Rock 90% of the time. So that's really hurting The Rock, I feel like, as a actor. I feel like if he was just in one movie a year and Ballers, he'd be fine. But he's not that kind of person. He likes churning everything out. He's got 2 more movies coming out next year and another season of Ballers. He's got the spin-off of Fast and the Furious coming out next year, Hobbs and Shaw. If you haven't heard about that, it's a spin-off of the Fast and the Furious films with The Rock's character and Jason Statham's character. It's going to be like a buddy cop action thing, and the villain's going to be Idris Elba. So that could be a really fun, interesting movie with the director David Leitch from Deadpool 2 and one of the co-directors in John Wick. As it says in Deadpool 2, one of the directors who killed a dog in John Wick. You know? So, yeah, maybe The Rock should sleep more, okay? Maybe The Rock should sleep a little bit more. Because in the comments, she said The Rock doesn't sleep, leave him alone. He needs his rest. You know, he's a big man. You know, he drinks a lot of creatine. You know, a lot of, like, Wheaties and, like, probably eats like a fucking cow a day, like, and like 3 chickens. Like I believe he has a farm in his backyard, and he just grabs a chicken. He just like eats a raw chicken every day. Like I believe that's The Rock's life. He's a very strong man. No steroids on The Rock. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I like to believe that everyone in Hollywood does steroids. Like, just, there's no reason why you can't. It's Hollywood. Who cares? I mean, for your own health, there's reasons not to. But, like, if you want to look big and buff for a movie, it's not, you know, you're not an athlete. You're not doing this for a sport. There's no competition. I mean, there's competition, but not in that sort of way. So, like, I know, like, Stallone and Schwarzenegger have come out and said they did steroids. So I feel like if actors do steroids, it's not really the same thing as if athletes do steroids. I don't think it has that same stigma because, like, obviously Stallone took steroids. Look at fucking Stallone. Look, Stallone's like 70 years old and he looks like that. That's not natural. Good for him, but that's not natural. Same thing with Schwarzenegger. Even if they're working out the way they are, it's not that same way. Hi, Christy. Christy says hi. I say hi back to you, Christy. Christy is my friend. I haven't seen Christy recently. I need to see Christy soon. We'll hang out. We'll talk about like bonbons and stuff. But I don't have that much left to talk about. Let's see. Amanda said, "Anchor arms, Ryan. Anchor arms." Well, you know what? Maybe he doesn't need those anchor arms. I mean, actors could do that. They could have like blown up arms or like prosthetic under like the shirt to make them look bigger. They should do like Danny McBride should do that in a movie where like he's clearly wearing all prosthetics to make him look super buff, but it's Danny McBride, so you know he's not buff at all. I would like to see that, or like Jonah Hill, Michael Cera. I want to see a buff Michael Cera, but it's all fake, clearly like prosthetic or something. That's what I want to see. That's the kind of movie I'm going to pay the big bucks for. I'll pay $22 a ticket. I don't even have to be IMAX. Just 22. It can be a small theater. It can be Islip Theater, where you sit next to a cockroach and you got to pass some popcorn, otherwise he cuts you. That's where I want to see it, and I'll pay $22 to see Michael Cera like prosthetic up, like as like Cobra, like a remake of Cobra, but instead of Sylvester Stallone, it's Michael Cera with clearly prosthetic makeup. I think that's a bestseller right there. Let's see, what else do I have to talk about? But yeah, Ballers is back. Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. Ballers is back. Yeah, I don't have anything to say. Russell Brand's on it now. So, if anyone still cares about Russell Brand, I have both of his autobiographies, and I've read them. I don't think that's an accomplishment, but I've done it. I don't think I should be happy, but I don't know why I'm telling you this, but there you go. Um, I used to like Russell Brand. I'm like the only person that likes the Arthur remake that he did with Helen Mirren. I'm the only person. I'm literally the only one. The original Arthur's a great film, but I like the Russell Brand one. You want to know why? Because he's kooky. That's literally how you can describe Russell Brand. He's kooky. I love him in Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Get Him to the Greek. And his character in Ballers kind of seems like he's trying to be that, because that's all he is now. But he's been an activist for a long time, Russell Brand. So like I give him a lot of credit for that, and that's amazing. And the stuff he's doing with his activist stuff is really fascinating. So if you want to look that up, it's really, you wouldn't expect him to be an activist and to be fighting for equality. And he's I know he was big part of the We Are the 99%, like that sort of stuff. So if you look into that, look into his activism. That's really fascinating. That's why you haven't seen him in as many movies. But nobody really cares about him as an actor. So there's that. But people like Ballers, I think, or maybe we all watch it reluctantly. Coming out this week, we got in the theaters Happy Time Murders, which if you didn't see the trailer, look up the trailer for Happy Time Murders right after this is over, or now and come back. I don't care, whatever, however you want to live your life. But the Happy Time Murders is a film made by the Jim Henson Company, the Muppet people, the people who make the Muppets. And it's a raunchy, it's almost like a raunchy Who Framed Roger Rabbit with Melissa McCarthy. And it looks like one of Melissa McCarthy's best movies. And I'm really looking forward to the Happy Time Murders. I don't know what's going on behind my head. I think there's a ghost. The Happy Time Murders looks really funny and really raunchy. I highly recommend watching the trailer. If you watch the trailer and you're like, I'm not interested in that at all, don't see it. But I'm very interested in that. I love Sausage Party. It has kind of a Sausage Party vibe. Sausage Party is one of those movies I know a lot of people say the trailer is better than the movie. Some people say the first 30 minutes is better than the rest of the movie. I enjoy all of Sausage Party, but I do think it could have been a little bit better. I think I give that movie like a 7 out of 10, but I do enjoy Sausage Party. Sausage Party. Yeah, that's a film. If you haven't seen Sausage Party, make sure you get all of the little kids that you know, and you put them in front, and you put the movie on, and you tell the parents it's a Disney film. And then you leave the room. You just leave, and then you never see them again. And then you find out what happened to those kids in like 10 years. It's like a couple weeks ago, a month ago, the last time I did this show, I talked about Three Identical Strangers, which is a really great documentary. It's my favorite. It's still my favorite movie of the year so far. I implore you to go see Three Identical Strangers, or when it comes out on VOD and digital, to watch it. It's a great documentary. It's not long. And that film is entirely about this. It's a documentary about these three brothers that were separated at birth that all found each other when they were about 19. And you find out that, slightly spoilers, but it is a true story. These brothers were separated at birth by the adoption agency as part of a twin study to study nature versus nurture in the parents. And that was kind of what I was joking about before, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. But I highly recommend Three Identical Strangers. It's fascinating. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. Probably there might be a different emotion that it'll give you. I don't know. It'll make you angry. It'll make you remorseful. It'll make you worried about society. But it's a very enjoyable film. I highly recommend it. Yeah, that's right, Zach. I like sausage. You know what I also like? Bacon. You know what I like too? Eggs. You want to know why? Breakfast is delicious, Zach. But oh God, what's going on in the chat right now? There's some fun stuff going on in this chat. I'm not Gilbert Godfrey. But yeah, Happy Time Murders. Amanda, I might be working Friday, so I don't think that I'll be able to see Happy Time Murders with you. I might go Thursday. If you guys want to see Happy Time Murders with me on Thursday, if anybody wants to go, you text me. I am me. My AIM name is Godzilla93. That was my AIM name. So if you could figure out how to bootleg AIM, bring that back up. That's where you can reach me. My MySpace name is Marshmallow Toots 420. That's not true. MySpace wasn't like that. Why do you want to talk about Gilbert Gottfried? Yeah, all right. So Gilbert Gottfried was a Iago in Aladdin, and he's great. And I've seen him. I saw him do stand-up at McGuire's in Bohemia, and he was hilarious. He's a great stand-up comedian. I think a lot of people should go see Gilbert Gottfried. There's a lot of great stand-up comedians on the island that people should go see, and not just because they're in the room behind me, but, you know, John Santo is a hilarious man. Pat Marone is hilarious. John LaRocchia is hilarious. You see all of them. There's other comedians that are going to get mad at me that I didn't mention them, but they're all hilarious. You should see all of them. Support Long Island comedy. Gilbert Gottfried shows up on Long Island sometimes, so that counts too. But support the Long Island comedians because they're the ones that are out here every day, that are trying to make everybody laugh, that are working hard and are unappreciated, and you should appreciate them. But that's enough about that. Yeah, I don't have that much left to say. Yeah, I need to watch the documentary about Gilbert Gottfried. I need to watch that one. I need to watch the Robin Williams documentary. I saw clips of that. That looked very good. I repeatedly just watched the Dana Carvey documentary, which I don't know if anyone's seen. There's a documentary on Hulu. I was watching it last night with two of my friends called, I believe it's Too Funny to Fail, and it's the story of the Dana Carvey show, which was a show after Dana Carvey from, you know, Master of Disguise and Wayne's World and SNL, and he's a really funny impressionist, stand-up comedian. He's one of the best impressionists. Not as good as John Santo, but Dana Carvey's a great impressionist. So he had this sketch comedy show right after he left SNL on ABC in prime time called The Dana Carvey Show, and it was run by Rob Schmeigel, who is Tribe the Insult Comic Dog and is a very funny comedy writer. The other head writer was Louis C.K. The two other sketch actors were Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert. It had this amazing cast around it. And it did terribly because it was not what should be an ABC primetime show. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Must have been a bug. It went inside, made me yawn. But it's not what was a primetime show in the 90s. It was more like a Whitest Kids You Know before Whitest Kids You Know existed, or a Mad TV before Mad TV, or something along those lines. It's very risque. I highly recommend watching the documentary. It's hilarious. And then I believe the Dana Carvey show itself is on Hulu. So you can watch the documentary and then watch the actual show to get your own opinion on it. But it was a show that was definitely ahead of its time, and it only lasted 8 episodes. It did very bad, and it's such a fascinating documentary to see a show that was like fast tracked to be this #1 mega hit that was gonna fight Saturday Night Live for being the biggest sketch comedy show, and it lasted 8 episodes, and like didn't ruin Dana Carvey's career, but it probably hurt it to some aspect for a small period of time. But it's a hilarious show. It's a very I recommend watching the documentary Too Funny to Fail about the Dana Carvey show and watching the Dana Carvey show. I never saw the Snoop Dogg sketch comedy show on Comedy Central. I like the show he does with Martha Stewart, the Potluck, the Snoop Dogg Martha Stewart Potluck. That's a fun show. I like that show. So Brandon wants to know about the deal with the Green Lantern casting Tom Cruise, maybe. It's a rumor. There's no definitive proof for knowing that that's actually happening, but the rumor is they want Tom Cruise to be a Hal Jordan, but be an older Hal Jordan of a mentor to a newer character, so it would be an ensemble, and he would be like more of the mentor character. So I wouldn't like a Tom Cruise Green Lantern film if he was the main Green Lantern, but if you're doing it like almost, he would be a little younger, but almost in the same way of Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd in the Ant-Man films. Kind of like that, but he's a little younger, so he would also have some action scenes. If they did it like that, I'd be very okay with it, even if they didn't kill him in the first film, which is the rumor of why he hasn't fully signed on yet, because he doesn't want to die in the first film, and they were going to have him die. I'm cool either way. I think that aspect could make it interesting for Tom Cruise to be in a. That's like one of the only ways I could see him being in one of the DC movies and it working. Not as if it's just him as Hal Jordan by himself. That would be terrible. I wouldn't want to see that at all. But like it would be like the Tom Cruise Mummy movie that I keep talking about. You shouldn't watch. Don't watch the Tom Cruise Mummy film. Yeah, that's the only thing I could see the Green Lantern being good. I could only see the Green Lantern film being good if you do Tom Cruise in more of a mentor role. And then still have Jon Stewart. Maybe he's not even Hal Jordan. Maybe he's Guy Gardner. I could see Tom Cruise being a great Guy Gardner, who's more of a butch, like, take-no-nonsense asshole, like, dick. I would like to see him be that, because that's what we perceive Tom Cruise as anyway. I'm not going to talk about Scientology. Yeah, so like that's what I would like to see out of Green Lantern. Guys, my time's coming down. I'm almost done with the show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys are just tuning in, when the show ends, you can start back from the beginning and rewatch it. Please like this, share it with your friends. I do this once a month. Every week, my dad does the Benny TV show, and I will come on. I do movie reviews with him. We'll talk about different stuff. Next week, we're going to be doing a second part of a Batman episode that we did last month. We're going to do another Batman episode. It's going to be myself, my dad, and two really funny Long Island comedians, John Santo, most likely, and Jessica Collazo, most likely as well, who were on last time. You can go back on the Strong Island page and find the first Batman episode. I'm going to moderate it, so it's not going to be Ryan Takeover, but I will be leading the discussion and trying to make sure we don't fully meander and we're able to cover a couple of topics about Batman. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like the Strong Island Radio and Television Facebook page. Please share this as much as possible. Share it, make your friends share it, make your mom's friend share it, make your friend's mom share it. Make the girl that you're seeing on the side's kids share it. Like, just have everybody share it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next week. We got the Batman show. Laughter Saves Lives Live is coming up next. There are a lot of really funny Long Island comedians. They're really great. I highly recommend staying to watch them. It'll pop up on the Strong Island feed right after this one. So just like and follow the Strong Island Facebook page, and you'll keep getting alerts for all the great shows we have on this channel. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you very soon. Guten Tag, salutations, peace, love, happiness. Goodbye.